Happy Friday, everybody. Sorry this is coming a little late this week. Wanted to get you a title scoop. I know it's Friday afternoon, but thought that we would still talk about cyber fraud. I had the opportunity this week actually to go to Alta Springboard, and I was a faculty member there and got to present, which was great. And ironically, while I was there, cyber fraud came up in one of my conversations, and it's going to be one of the topics today because I thought that would be relevant. So let's get started. So while I was at the conference, I was sitting at a table and I was connecting my laptop to my hotspot on my phone. And a gentleman beside me was like, "Hey, you know, there's free public Wi-Fi." And I smiled at him and I said, "Yeah, I know, but I always try to connect to my hotspot." And in my head, I thought, you know, I'd probably be a fraud if I connected to the public Wi-Fi, and I'm getting ready to tell you all to not connect to public Wi-Fi with your work computers. So I'm going to tell you about a case study that happened a few years ago. There was a journalist and an ethical hacker. And the ethical hacker is a gentleman who's basically made a career out of really educating and making people aware of some of the cyber fraud issues. And he does it by showing people, because he's able to hack in and show some of the risks that are associated with cyber fraud. So these two gentlemen went to a cafe. It was a coffee shop, really busy. Everybody was on phones, iPads, computers. And he had a little black box, and basically he set it on the table, covered it with some papers, did some things on his computer to set it up. And within minutes, he was connected to multiple people's computers. Now, what he did is he renamed it. He had the ability, basically, so say the cafe was Sherry's Cafe. He basically went in, called it Sherry's Cafe, free Wi-Fi. And like I said, within minutes, he had, 10 to 20 people that he was able to see basically everything on their computer. He could see usernames, passwords. He could see their history. He could see where they had been if they had connected to Wi-Fi at different places. Could find out their home address. Could see basically anything that you could see. Now, some people think because maybe they used a VPN and they're on their work computer that they're safe. But unfortunately, because they were connected to an unsecure network, he had the ability even to hack into a VPN and see work information. So with that, what I tell everybody is, especially when you're on your work computer, don't connect to a public Wi-Fi network. Make sure you're on a secure network. Make sure you're either using your private hotspot. Make sure you're using, something that's secure, because you wouldn't want to be the reason there was a breach of any information from your clients or from your work. So the second one we're going to talk about is one that's we've all known about, we've maybe even experienced, but I just like to bring it to everyone's attention, especially around this time of year when we're getting ready to be busy again. And that's a buyer or seller beware. This is where a hacker basically looks at email, keeps track of a transaction, watches the emails flying back and forth, and usually 5 or 6 days before closing, they will send an email to the buyer or seller and say, "Hey, you need to send your wire, $133,000, send it to the wire instructions below." There's always a sense of urgency, interestingly enough, where it's like, "Hey, this is an urgent matter. If you don't do it, the closing may fall through or might have to be postponed." So the buyer or seller wires that money and they're good to go. And then a couple days later, they hear from the title company or the realtor saying, "Hey, we really need you to wire the funds so we can get the closing done." And the buyer or seller says, "Wait, I already sent that." And that's usually when it's recognized that, I've been hacked. Now, obviously, we can talk in later videos about what to do when something like that happens. But in this case, what I want to stress is really getting that information out to your clients so they can educate the buyers and the sellers. The buyers and the sellers probably aren't as savvy. They probably don't know the red flags. So that's why I always say, take this as an opportunity to get in front of your realtors, in front of your attorneys, to really make sure that they know the protocols of how to keep money safe, wires safe, how to make sure they're verifying the information before it's sent, and that they're telling the buyers and sellers so that way you don't have another news article that says someone's life savings was stolen when they were trying to buy a house. So with that, that's it for the week. If you guys have any other topics you want to talk about, let me know. If not, we'll see you next week. Thanks.